Configure port for a Spring Boot application. Beginner, intermediate level, server configuration. When you run a Spring Boot application, it starts an embedded server, like Apache Tomcat, by default. By default, the application runs on http://localhost 8080. However, in real-world scenarios, you often need to change the default port, run multiple services on different ports, avoid port conflicts, configure environments, dev, test, prod. This is where port configuration becomes important. What is a port? A port is a number used by your application to communicate over the network. In simple terms, port equals entry point through which your application is accessed. Example: http://localhost 8080. Localhost means machine, 8080 means port. You may need to change the port when port 8080 is already in use, running multiple Spring Boot apps, deploying to cloud server environments, following company standards. Example concept: multiple apps means different ports required, default port in Spring Boot. By default, server.port equals 880. Ways to configure port in Spring Boot. There are multiple ways to configure the port. 1. Using application.properties. The most common way. Configuration server port equals 9090. Result: http://localhost 9090. 2. Using application.yml. If you are using YAML configuration. Configuration server, port 9090. Example concept: YAML means hierarchical configuration. 3. Using command line argument. You can override the port when starting the application. Command java -jar app.jar server.port equals 9090. Example concept: runtime override means no code change needed. Using environment variable. You can configure port using environment variables. Example export server port equals 9090. Spring Boot automatically picks this value. Example concept: environment config means useful in cloud deployments. 5. Using Java code, programmatic configuration. You can set the port in Java configuration. Example: import org.springframework.boot.web.server, configurable web server factory. Import org.springframework.boot.web.server, web server factory customizer. Import org.springframework.stereotype.component. Component, public class, server port customizer, implements web server factory customizer, configurable web server factory. Override, public void, customize, configurable web server factory. Factory.setPort 9090. Example concept: code-based config means dynamic control. 6. Using Spring profiles. Different environments can use different ports. Application dev.properties, server.port equals 8081. Application prod.properties, server.port equals 80. Activate profile -d Spring profiles active equals dev. Example concept: profiles means environment-specific configuration. Port configuration, priority. Spring Boot follows priority order. Command line, environment, application.properties, default common errors, port already in use. Port 8080, already in use. Solution: change port, kill existing process, invalid port number. Ports must be 0-65535. Firewall issues. Sometimes port is blocked externally. Running multiple applications. Example: App 1 means port 8080. App 2 means port 8081. App 3 means port 8082. This is common in microservices architecture. Real-world use cases, microservices. Each service runs on a different port. Docker, Kubernetes. Ports mapped dynamically. Cloud deployment. Ports assigned by platform. Example concept: dynamic environments mean flexible port configuration. Advantages of port configuration. Advantages include: avoids conflicts, supports multiple services, flexible deployment, environment-specific setups. Example concept: custom port means better control. Limitations. Challenges include: remembering multiple ports, managing configurations across environments, debugging port conflicts. Example concept. Wrong port means app not accessible. Concepts learned. What a port is. How Spring Boot configures ports. Multiple configuration methods. Environment-based configuration. Real-world deployment practices. Simple definition. Spring Boot port configuration. Setting the network port on which a Spring Boot application runs. Final summary. Spring Boot applications run on port 8080 by default, but this can be easily changed using : application.properties, application.yml, command line arguments, environment variables, Java configuration. Port configuration is essential for running multiple services, avoiding conflicts, and managing environments effectively. Understanding this concept is important for Spring Boot development, microservices, and deployment.